A very good evening, everyone. I am Fabrício Assunção from the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth. Welcome to tonight's talk, brought to you by the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth and Poole Christian Spiritualist Church. It is also my pleasure to give a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Mackenzie Melo, from the United States. Mackenzie's biographical notes proudly state that he is a father of two beautiful girls and is married to a wonderful woman. What a great blessing. Mackenzie lives in Massachusetts. He is a spiritist and a worker at the group Espírita Caminho de Luz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Mackenzie.
Thank you for having me, Fabricio, Lawrence, or Laurie. And I'm humbled to be here. I mean, I've seen a few people here, and Danielle and so many others, and I'm their friend. So that's probably why I'm here. I'm encircled by good friends. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming over and talking to us. The talk is on the subject of perseverance. This talk is one of our fortnightly talk on the psychological series by the Spirit of Joanna de Angelis. The Spirit of Joanna de Angelis has, for many years, been the guide to our most famous living Spiritist medium, Divaldo Franco. Joanna Spirit has been the source of a large number of very important books published in many languages across the world, including the psychological series. They deal with the moral teaching of Spiritism. We look forward very much to Mackenzie's talk, but first let us go to Lawrence's view at the Poole Christian Spiritualist Church for our opening prayer.
Thank you, Fabricio, and good evening, friends. So just still your minds just for this short time. Link in with that divine within, reaching out to that which you understand to be God. And we give celebration for these times where we can link together from far across the world to debate and discuss and to learn and to understand and to grow and progress upon our spiritual pathways through these many teachings, many understandings, many philosophies brought to us in this new way. As we sit here tonight, help us to absorb that which we can from the following discussion and bring forward questions of our own. For to question is to learn and to grow. So we place this evening in thine divine loving care and keeping, and ask a blessing on all those who watch here tonight or in the future. Amen.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Now it's my great pleasure to hand over to Mackenzie Melo for his talk on the subject of perseverance. Over to you, Mackenzie.
Thank you, Fabricius. Thank you, Laurie, and thank you everyone who is has the patience and is willing to be here with us. Night in the UK. Here it's about 7:30, 7:40, and here where I am it's 3:40. So we're separated by 4 hours right now. And as you can see, and I apologize for the background here, but I'm in my car, and as Laurie pointed out very wisely, I hope you're not driving while you're doing this, and I am not driving. I am steady here, although there's some wind, and I felt the car like moving around a little bit, but we are on steady ground. And having said that, what is interesting is that the way that I start talking about this is I start talking about this topic saying that we're going to be on a journey together, and for the approximately 45-50 minutes, and feel free to put some comments there. Laurie said that he's going to put the comments down there, so maybe I can interact with you as well. So we're going to be on a journey, And this journey is on a ship. So let's imagine that we are on this ship, going somewhere. So we are sailing, just like Rod Stewart, we are sailing, right? So we are sailing, and we are on that ship. So the question, or one of the questions that I like to ask is, where are we going? And to me, that's one of the great questions of that we can ask ourselves. Where are we going? The the answers to this question, it will depend on so many variables, so many different things, because it will depend, for example, where I am right now. Where do I want to go? I'm leaving work and I'm going home. So my answer would be, I'm going home. But the same way, in the middle of the journey, for whatever reason, I have the urge to stop to go to a bathroom, and I need to find a restroom right there. So I have to stop, and then I'll do a detour. So where I'm going, it really depends on my state of mind, what's in my heart, what's my objective. So when I'm sailing, when I'm traveling through space in this mothership, right, in this planet Earth that's circling around the universe, we imagine sometimes, or maybe all the time, that we are stuck into one place, but actually you're traveling so fast in the universe, that we have no idea how fast we are, because we don't feel that we are moving, but we are moving. And even if I am sleeping, I am moving. Even if I think and I want to make me very, very steady, I am still moving. Because I'm made of so many different parts. I am made of so many different things. Let's say I'm made of the matter that my body has. But I'm also a spirit. So matter through time will decay. So matter is always moving. The atoms inside my body are always moving. I don't know what's the objective, what's the goal of the atoms. They don't have like thoughts like we do. But do I know what is my goal? Do I know where I am going? Do I know where I am sailing to? Where am I sailing to? Am I and that's a big, big question. The thing is, when I decide to go on a trip, wherever I decide to go. For example, this afternoon I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and she was saying that she and her husband, they love to watch Formula One, which is kind of weird here in the United States. I am from Brazil. Maybe you realized by my accent. Um, and in Brazil, Formula One is kind of big. In Europe as well. Here in Canada as well. But here in the United States, it's not very common to find people talking about Formula. And I was surprised because this afternoon I was talking to her, and I've been working with her for about 5 years now. And this subject was never one a topic of our conversations. And all of a sudden I mentioned it, and she said, "Oh, I watch it all the time. My husband loves it," and so on. And then I told her, "Oh, one day I was able to go watch this one of the races here up here in Canada." And she said, "Oh yeah, I want to give it to my husband as a gift," and so on. So we started talking a little bit, and it's about, I don't know, maybe 8 hours driving from where I live to go to where the trip was, maybe 6, 7, 8 hours. And depending on the time of the year, and depending on the time of the year, the the type of clothes that I'm gonna wear, that I need to wear to go to Canada, will have to be chosen specifically for that time. because it might be, and it's usually colder than where I am here. Canada is up north from where I am, so it's usually colder than here. If I'm going to Alaska, I'll need to find a certain, I cannot wear what I wear in Brazil, where I used to live the entire year, because it's on the equator and it's warm all the time. So where I'm going to, and I'm sorry for all this introduction, but it is very, very important. And I'm making this point very, very clear because I think, and although I kind of become repetitive, and my daughters tell me this all the time, but what I think is, and Allan Kardec says that in a few points, and educators say this all the time as well, that education is a matter of repetition. Once you get to the point, once you know that what you're going to learn is the right thing to learn, you have to repeat that a few times so that you get it into your system. So for us, I think it is very easy to understand the concept of, if I'm going to a cold place, I need to have the right clothes to be wearing at that cold place. I cannot be wearing, I don't know, a t-shirt without any covering. If I'm going to an even colder place, I have to wear probably earmuffs. I have to have deeper gloves. I have to have layers of protection. This is very clear to all of us. The question, however, is, when we start talking spiritually about where we are going spiritually and morally, do we really understand it? Do we really get that we need to prepare and have the right equipment to get to points where it might be cold, quote unquote here, where it might be warm, where it might be very warm? And I'm saying this, trying to make this point that once we realize that one of the main goals of life is to improve ourselves so that we have a better connection to the entire world, to every little thing of the world. We have to learn that for that to happen, for that connection to be a loving connection, I need to prepare to be to have that love when I get to that point. Otherwise, I will not be prepared and I will fail. Why? Because I didn't bring the right things for that specific place. And we get that sometimes when, say, we are not expecting a person's reaction when we're going to talk to her, when we're going to talk to him. Then we say something, and then we are expecting the response to be very calm or very reasonable. And then all of a sudden comes out a burst of laughter, or comes out a burst, something the person is disdaining from us and looking down on us. And then how do I feel? What do I have inside to deal with that situation right there? So when I ask, where am I going to? All these small things show us if we are prepared where we're going to. And we have to understand that we are going to be a more loving person, or at least, as in Spiritism, when we try to think about the process of progress and evolution, that's what we normally think about, is the personal progress and the progress of everyone around us, and we helping God in providing everyone and every single being, be it a human being or an animal or even the planet, to be a better place, or to be a better person, to be a better spirit. In this process is um, is is a long process, and to get there, we need to sail. We need to go through stages. We need to keep persevering. We need to focus on that. So while we are on this trip, while we are on this ship, sailing, right? We are not alone on this ship. And I'm going to tell a small tale that happened on this ship that we are going. And like I said, we have to try to see examples from around ourselves, be it from human beings, be it from small creatures, from stones, from in this case, I'm going to tell the tale of three flies. Two flies were flying around the ship. I don't know in the UK how flies are. Here, barely see any flies. But in Brazil, where I used to live, if there were no flies, there was something wrong. Here is the other way around. If you see a fly, there's something wrong. In Brazil, where I lived, if there is no fly, what's going on? There must be a tsunami coming or whatever. I mean, somebody, I don't know. So in this ship, it must be close to Brazil. So in this ship, there were two flies. These two flies were flying around. They felt something. They saw this liquid, and they both fell in the liquid. One of them, both of them, started like to, wing and try to fly away from it, try to go away. And one of them just said, "I give up." So that fly gave up. In a few seconds, it was dead. Couldn't do anything else. The other one kept like pounding and pounding and moving the wings and trying to fly, trying to fly. All of a sudden, that liquid started to grow and to create like a something on a surface. And then when that thing started to become a little harder, that fly was able to go on top of that liquid, which now was there was this cover of something a little harder, and then it was able to go there, and from there waited a little bit. The wings are dry, so the fly was able to move and then flew away and survived. That's us, right? um are we trying? Are we really trying enough? Are we trying hard enough to get out of the situations that we go into? Or are we giving up? How frequently do we give up when we face difficulties? Some people say that problems shouldn't be called problems, should be called steps, because every problem that I am able to solve is a new step that I was able to climb, right? So I'm closer to getting more knowledge, or to know a little more about that, at least, and a minimum of that problem that I am facing at that specific moment. But what is interesting about this tale is that the tale doesn't finish there. I said that there were three flies. We only saw two. One now is dead. So that fly keeps flying around, flying around, flying around, and then all of a sudden sees another liquid and drops into it. Is and then the first liquid was milk, as you probably guessed. Didn't say the color, but when you start like batting on the milk, it will like create that, I don't know the name in English of that small like cover that the milk has, like the fat that starts to collect there. The fly now falls into another liquid and then starts doing the same thing. She learned already, right? Or he learned already what he needs to do. So kept like pounding, pounding and pounding, and say, "Oh, 1 minute or two, I'll be able to leave from here." When the fly is doing that, comes another fly and then stops right there at the border. And the fly was inside a glass with that liquid. So the fly outside looks at the other fly that's moving their wings and says, "Why don't you go a little bit to your right?" And there's like that structure right there. There was a straw inside the cup. And why don't you climb that straw? The The fly looks at the other one and says, no, I don't need to do that. What I'm doing is fine. I'm not gonna do that. I don't need your advice. Okay, see you later. Well, the fly that flew away died 24 hours later because flies only live for about, I don't know, a week or so. But the fly that was on the liquid, sank in a few minutes because the liquid was not milk anymore. The liquid was water. It doesn't matter how much you wing water. It will not create that same surface as the milk did. So my question when I think about this story is, when I'm doing something, am I using perseverance or am I being stubborn? What is the difference between being stubborn and being a how do I say this, Laurie? Am I being a perseverant man?
Persevering.
Persevering man. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I being a persevering man or am I being a stubborn man? If I'm not listening, if I keep doing the same thing. And the answer to that question, of course, it depends on, as usual, it depends on many things. But the difference is what do I know at that specific moment? There's a saying that more or less says that the definition of a crazy person is the person that does the same thing over and over again, expecting the results to be different. So for me to change the result, usually I have to change at least one small variable of what I'm doing. So being stubborn is not changing when I'm faced with a different problem, when I'm faced with a problem that might look similar to another one, but it requires a different knowledge than the previous problem. So that tells me right there, that tale tells me that one of the characteristics of a person that wants to grow is the person that wants to learn, that is never closed to new knowledge, that is always looking forward to learn new things, to widen and to open up the mind. Albert Einstein said at one point that a mind that opens up to a new idea never shrinks back to a smaller size. It's always expanding. So the difference between being stubborn and being a persevering person, when we are trying to grow, when we are putting our efforts to grow, is the idea that I have to be open. So in the case of that fly, she was so closed that she couldn't even think about allowing a tip, a hint from one of its friends. So I question myself, am I open to hear what other people are saying? I've encountered, and I probably you too, have seen people that ask questions, and then all of a sudden, the person that asks a question, you give an answer, and the person starts fighting with you because of the answer that you gave to her. And so my question back is, do you really want to know what I think, or do you want to impose on me what you think and you're asking just because you're asking? Or are you asking this just to confirm that what you think is the right thing? So of course, here I'm talking about the other person, but every time I talk about the other person, I have to, and that's an exercise that I try to do, is I have to imagine if I am that other person. So I have to ask myself, when I ask a question, when I ask Laurie, Fabricio, or whoever it is, when I ask someone a question, what am I doing? Am I really asking a question? Do I really want to know? Or do I only want a confirmation of what I think is the right thing? And that position, being like that in life, will make a big difference when we are facing problems. Because, when I'm doing crosswords, right? Horizontal, diagonal crosswords, and or looking for words, right? I don't know the name of that puzzle, but looking for words, and we see the combination of letters. Look, I'm looking for perseverance, for example, and then I see ERE, and then my eyes apparently go back to that ERE all the time, all the time, all the time, and I think, oh, that's where perseverance is, and it's not there. And then we keep looking, I can't find another ERE, and then I find that one, my eye go back to that, as if and then I keep trying to find perseverance there, but I'm not going to be able to find it there because it is not there. But it is as if I am stuck into something inside of me. So at that moment, we have to, I don't know, close that part of the puzzle, look at the other way, put it around, put it backwards or whatever, to try to get out of that mental state so that I can try to see a different solution. And so with that, if I keep doing it, I am trying to do it, but not the same way. So I'm less stubborn because now I am learning. So I'm improving the odds or my chances to go a little further down that path. So we have to be very careful when we keep saying, oh, no, I learned this my entire life. I did this my entire life. This is not, can you imagine? Laurie apparently lived like maybe a couple of years more than I did. How many things were done in a different way in the past? If it were not for this pandemic right now, I would have never probably met Laurie in my entire life. And it was done out of, it's not my wish, it's not anyone's wish to go through this. But once we are in it, we have to find ways to live through it. And we have to persevere, and we have to, oh, how am I going to be able to live through this? It's been a year. Who knows how long it will still last, but we are still here persevering. We are learning new ways of doing old things. And with this, we are moving forward. When this pandemic is over, we are going back to our churches. We're going back to our Spiritist centers. Hopefully, we'll be able to see people, embrace people. It's good to have people around. But I hope that we don't lose this kind of connection that we have now, because it is interesting to have people from different places around the world together. And it was brought because of something, quote unquote, bad that's happening. But we are learning from it. And we are persevering, we are going through, we are poking through the problem and going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's Nemo, right? On that movie. Keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. So that we will go, we have a goal in mind. So let's keep moving. So it is interesting that we, that for us to that once I know where I'm going and I'm ready to, I'm preparing, and I'm I don't know, wouldn't say ready because we're never completely ready, but once we have the minimum abilities to do something, let's do that something. I sometimes I think about, Jesus, right? Our model and guide. So he says, he comes in a time that 2,000 years ago, knowledge was this much. People that were living there, if we were to compare, the knowledge of the world that they had with the knowledge of the world that our society has these days, is something completely different. Some of those people didn't even know how to write, didn't know how to read. And would it be better if he had come here today? Wouldn't we do the same thing to him? We see people doing good stuff around, and then all of a sudden we see not even like doing major things, but let's mention someone from a completely different religion than ours. Gandhi, right? He was killed. He was killed because he was bringing peace. So how different is that from what Jesus suffered 2,000 years ago? In that sense of how much have we really grown? So, but he chose those people at that time because they were simple or because they wanted to grow, they wanted to learn new things. And for us, I think it's one of the main characteristics of ourselves is, do we want to learn to continue growing? Do we want to keep studying? But not only outside of ourselves, but do we want to learn who we really are? Do we really want to know what are my problems? What are my difficulties? What are my issues? If I'm faced with a problem, how am I going to face it? Like the example that I gave before, right? If I go and talk to a person, say I'm going to go to a store, buy something, and all of a sudden I'm trying to buy, and then the waiter there, the person that's helping me, is having a bad day, let's say. And then the person's having a bad day, and she or he just gives me a bad answer or doesn't treat me well. What am I going to do? How am I going to treat that person the same way the person is treating me? And I see this quite often, and I bet that you guys see it as well. And if it's me doing it, I already have an excuse for that. And I would say probably, which I heard, and unfortunately I did in the past and try not to do it anymore, but it's, oh, I'm teaching them a lesson because they shouldn't do it to me. So I'm doing it so that they can feel it. But can you imagine if this is true 100% of the time? When will we ever treat people the better? If I'm only responding the same way the other person is treating me. So I'm only going to treat nice people, right? Nice. I'm never going to treat a person that is not treating me nice in a nice way. Therefore, I don't know how much the percentage is, but if 50% of the people are not nice to me, I'm not nice 50% of my time. But that's not the goal. The goal is to persevere in being nice 100% of the time. It might not be feasible at the level of that we are in terms of moral progress or ethical progress, but it is something that we need to strive to get there. And we can only do that if we persevere, if we stick to a plan. Because if we don't stick to the plan, it will never get into our system. And it will never become, as we say it as we say it here, I bet in where you guys are too, it never becomes second nature. It never becomes really part of ourselves. It is always something that comes from the outside. So if I want to be a better person, I need to be a better person. It sounds weird to say that, right? When I say this, what I remember always is what does it take for me to ride a bike? And the answer is to ride a bike. So what does it take for me to be a nice person? Oh, you need to be a nice person, right? So to me, it's the same kind of logic. I mean, if you don't ride the bike, you will not learn how to ride the bike. Oh, but I'm gonna fall. Yeah, that's part of riding a bike. I fell so many times, and I don't ride bikes today anymore. I don't have a bike, but I still know how to ride a bike. It's part of me. Maybe not as well as people that ride the bike every day, but it's the same thing. If I want to be a nicer person, if I want to be a better person, not to the others, not for the others, not because of the others, but because it's where I want to go. It's where my ship is sailing to. I need to go and travel on that ship. So the the idea of perseverance is just the tool, is the is what we need to keep doing, or the idea behind, or the motor or the engine that propels me, or that helps me propel myself towards that goal. What is my goal? I'm going to keep coming back to the first question, because it is very, very, very important for me to know where I'm going to. There's a sentence, there's a quotation from Montaigne. He says, and I'm going to read it. I'm terrible with remembering precise words of stuff. So I took a note here. It's a short sentence. He says, "No wind blows in favor of a ship without a destination." No wind blows in favor of a ship without a destination. If I don't know where I'm going to, it doesn't matter what happens to me, because I have no destination. I don't have a port in mind. I don't have a final place for me to get to. So people usually say that when we are here on earth, what we want the most is to be happy. Oh, what is the main goal of life? Oh, the main goal of life is to find happiness. Okay. So what are you doing to find happiness? Oh, I'm gonna buy. I want the house. I want a car. I want this. I want this. I want this. Yeah. And what if something happens to the house? Oh, I'm gonna be so sad. I'm gonna be so unhappy. Yeah. Why? Because it's not on that specific place. It's not the location. It's not the physicality of it. It's, although it is important, and I hope that everybody knows that already. I don't have to say it, but it is important to have the material things. We are here, we are living in a material world. We need a house, we need cars, we need clothes, we need work, we need money, we need all that. The only thing is that those things are not the main goal, or should not be the main goal of life. And we would just need to try to put that into our minds and divide our lives, and remember that we may at one point lose everything. The other day I was watching this Japanese gentleman. He was being interviewed, I guess, by the BBC. I don't remember if it was the BBC. Um, they were interviewing him in Japan, and he was the only thing, quote unquote, here that survived the tsunami on his family. He lost his house, he lost his work, he lost his family, the all everything that he had physically. He lost everything, but he is still alive, and he is still going. He didn't say how hard it was. I didn't. Maybe the report was bigger, or there was another part that I didn't see, but he was there, hoping and restarting to build, or starting to rebuild his own life based on what? On what he had for real, not on what he had that's illusory, that's temporary, um, that was his physical things, even his family. So he had to continue doing what he was doing inside his mind and inside his heart, persevering with he had, what he has, or what he had, which is every bit of knowledge and of love and of any immaterial substance that he has on himself. And he still is going on. So he knows where he is going. While others, many others, gave up on their lives, unfortunately, and chose not to live anymore, which is very sad. And that's us, or that should be us, to think about not losing anything. No, I hope and I'm betting that I'm not going to lose everything, that I'm going to still have my house, I'm still going to have my family. But think about the idea that what if that would happen? How would I feel? How do I prepare myself to go through the problems, to go through the motions of life without giving up? The idea that there's a port where we're going to end up being, and that will bring not only comfort, but that will bring um, much more joy and life to myself and to ourselves once we get there. But if I don't have a port, if I don't have an objective, a goal, it makes life so hard to navigate, because every little thing, every little wind that comes from any side will hinder me, will bring me back, because I don't know where I'm going to. And that reminds me of something that when I was studying for this topic a while ago, and I was thinking about this idea of a ship or a boat going and then having winds against it, I was thinking, is it possible for a boat that doesn't have an engine or an oar to only with sails to go against the wind? And to my surprise, I found out that that is possible. That boats only with sails can navigate even against the wind. It's much harder. It is very hard. You have to do so many maneuvers to do that, but it is possible. And that is only possible because a woman or a man or a woman decided that I'm going to try to see if I can do it. And then they decided to do it. So they figure it out. And through years and years and years, we know, or not me, I'm not a sailor, so I don't know how to do that. But knowing that it is possible shows me that once we have our mindset to try to do something, we can do it. But we have to have our mindset on that specific goal. So a person that is facing a wind against him or her might just decide to give up if the person doesn't know where he or she is going to. But if I know where I'm going to, and I know that the lighthouse is right there because I'm seeing the light, I am seeing the light. I know that there's a port right there, and I have to get there. The wind is coming from that direction. I'm going against the wind. If I don't know, I might just, let the wind take me. And then I'm going to be in a place where I didn't want to be. And then who am I going to blame for it? We usually find it easy to blame things on other people. Like, oh, that was my boss. Oh, it was my wife. It was my husband. Oh, my son did this, my teacher, my students, but it's never us. We never take responsibility on my life. Apparently, some of us never take responsibility on our lives. So we have to understand that where am I going to? I have to put that in my mind. And that's the first thing. Because otherwise, if I don't have that, I'm going to get lost in the middle and I'm going to be kind of stubborn if I'm not open. So the second thing is, am I open? Am I really looking to learn new things? Am I really trying to learn while I'm going? Or am I stuck within my own mind, not wanting to improve? What am I really doing while I'm saving? Am I just relaxing and letting the wind take me wherever it is? And then I'll figure out. And how much time am I losing on that trip? So I had these, let me see if I can find it. This sequence of questions that I asked. Who's in charge of your ship? Is it me? Is it the wind? Is it, who is in charge of my ship? If I want to go there, right? Where do I want to go? Where am I going to? Who is in charge? Is it whoever? Is it, and I have something else that I'd like to point here. When I'm thinking about listening to other people, and I say that I have to be open to learn new things. And when I say that I have to be open to learn new things, I'm not saying that I have to agree with everything that everybody says. I'm not saying that I have to change whatever I believe to believe in what the other person says. I'm not saying, and that I have to say it about myself. You that are listening to me now, you don't have to stop believing in what you believe to believe in what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when we are open to listen to hear, to really let it sink in. Does it make sense? There's a story which I was never able to confirm. I never really read on like a book saying or a first person account of the story, but it's a story that sounds to me very, very true because of what it contains. It says that there was this time where this group of native people, they say it was in the United States, so we call them the Native Americans. So they were sitting down on this in this group meeting, and then they would have this reunion to talk about problems in their tribe. One of them raised their hand and started talking. So the person talked for a few minutes, not too long. Then once he shut his mouth, there was silence. After a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, then somebody else raises their hand and says something. Then this kept happening. Every time a person would say something, another one would wait. There would be this silence for a little while, then another one would speak. Then silence, another one would speak. Can you imagine how long that meeting was? The person that says that was watching this thing, in these days with these meetings with so many people, I would be forever. But there's a logic behind it. The person looks at them after everything is finished, and he was completely like out of his mind. He wanted to get out of there because he just couldn't understand it. He asked the chief of the tribe, what just happened? Why did it take so long for people to answer what the other one was saying? At least there was respect that we were showing to the others. Once someone speaks, for you to speak back to that person or on that topic, you have to at least think about what the other person said. If you say right on top of what the other person said, you did not have enough time to reflect on what the other person said. So when I'm saying that we need to be open is in that case, is to listen to the other person, is to hear, but to really take heart into that and say, Does that make sense or not? How does that apply to me? And I can find out later that it doesn't apply to me, which is fine. But I cannot just openly reject just because it came from that person, or because it was said this way, or because of this, or because of that. We have to be open to listen to the universe in that sense. And listening to the universe is observing the world, is listening to good friends, listening to good talks, like listening to these talks, to talks in other person, in other places, in different churches, different religions, thinking about how those teachings affect my life personally, and then taking those teachings and applying them into my life. So for me to really get to my destination, I have to get all these good teachings and persevere. To finish, I have two sentences or two ideas, and I'm not going to spend time on them. I'm just going to basically read. One is from a player, a sportsman. You probably know him. He says, I missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. That was said by Michael Jordan. He never gave up. Never. It doesn't matter how many times he fell. It doesn't matter how many times he was devastated because he lost. Because what shows me that I am a winner, and not to the others, but to myself, is the fact that even when I'm losing, I take that loss as a step to winning again, as a step to improving myself. So if I said something to someone that I shouldn't have said, I should bow my head down, ask for forgiveness, and say, I vow myself not to miss that shot again. Because that's how we can raise again and do better next time. It's persevering, not on the mistakes, but on trying and making the effort of doing the good things. Jesus says, and I'm going to finish with this quote from him, these things I have spoken unto you, that you may have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, be of good heart, be brave, be courageous, be persevering. I have overcome the world. It's not about winning over the others. It's about winning over my own mistakes. The perseverance in achieving something is, um, it will not become stubbornness if I'm willing to persevere on the good things, on the good thoughts, on the good knowledge, on something that constructs, that builds, and not on something that destroys life, that manages to be more a burden than a blessing. So let's persevere on the goodness, as Joanna de Angelis says in one of her books, and Andrea Luiz says in another one. Let's persevere on goodness, and let's have good heart, good cheer. It might be hard, or it is hard sometimes, but it is well worth doing it and persevering in doing it. And I thank you guys for persevering in doing this here, sticking to me, repeating myself quite a few times and moving. You were able to hear me.
Thank you, Mackenzie. You kept saying about this trip on the ship, but I felt like I was actually going on the trip with you all along, but in your car. I absolutely loved it. We've all been on this journey, on this trip, but from your car, actually, it's amazing because you mentioned about um, in terms of what, for instance, people say, well, but what the corona situation can actually be teaching us because everything is so hard, so difficult. And that is actually an example of what we could be saying to people out there. What corona is teaching us is people now, they can get together online more often. They can do things that they not even considered to do in the past. Like, for instance, we are here. Lawrence is in Poole. I am in Bournemouth. We are in the United States, 3 different locations. And then there are people over the world watching us. And this is something that I would say it come up from a difficult time, but looking through the positive side of it, this is something positive that we actually seen through these difficult times. And one thing that resonates to me a lot, what you said is, look the obstacles as opportunity to learn something new. Because when you learn something new, we are growing, we are expanding our mind. And that really resonated well to me tonight.
Yeah.
Lauren, anything from you before we go to the questions from our friends on Facebook?
No, I just think I know probably who are the 2 most luckiest girls in the world, who's got a dad that can take people on stories like that, because that was great. I love that. I myself tell stories similar because it makes it understandable. You know, we can come out with all the words and everything, but when you weave and weft with your language like that, it's just great. So thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely beautiful.
Thanks, Lawrence. So a question that come up here. I'm just going to look through our chat here on Facebook.
There's one from Bob.
Okay, so let's read the question from Bob. Bob is our friend. The question says, do you agree that if we can have a firm faith in God's love for us, this can convert our stubbornness into hopeful perseverance?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we have faith in God's love for us, the question is, do we understand what this God's love for us is? Because so many people, we still don't understand it. I think that what God's love for us is. And when I say that, it's because when we think of God loving us, we tend to think or tend to believe, I guess, that everything will be perfect. We will never have any issues. That everything will be smooth sailing all the time. And we know that when I love my daughters, I'm not going to make it easy for them in so many times. And they will not see it as love because I'm going to make them go to school. I'm going to make them wake up when they don't want to. I'm going to make them, I don't know, study when they want to play outside. I'm going to make them do so many things as I did in the past. And I don't know how many of you are fathers and mothers, but I bet that you heard that sentence so many times. Oh, I hate you so much, right? And do they really mean that? One day they will understand that we were loving because they will be there. They will be fathers and mothers of themselves, and they will understand that they will need to do certain stuff that the kids will not agree. So I agree with you, Bob, that if we really understand that that's what God's love is, that God's love is not just smooth sailing, but it is teaching moments and using hard times to teach us something. it can take us and will convert our stubbornness into hopeful perseverance. But first, we need to understand that. So it is a yes no question, because it's more, once again, of me understanding than necessarily God's love for me. Is what I understand of what God's love for me is. But yes, I mean, if we really understand it, and I know that God loves me even though I'm going through this terrible, horrible situation, I'm not going to be stubborn. I'm going to persevere, and knowing that I'm going to get through this, because that's what God wants from me. He wants me to be hopeful, to persevere, to be more loving instead of having more hatred in my heart.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So another question is coming from our friend Sue. She says, Mackenzie, do we truly need to know our destination in life? Or do you feel it's also possible? Listen to our soul calling and allow life to unfold step by step. Otherwise, we might be focusing on the future and maybe seeking externally, chasing an illusion rather than being in the present moment and knowing from within.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sue, and I appreciate your input, because when I say when I say the destination, the final destination, I said that it's love. Love everyone, love everything. It's the love of, love God above everything else. And then the other two commandments, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So it's love, period. That's love. That's our final destination. The problem is that because we don't know what that love is, we need to course correct while we are going. So we might not know that the path that I'm going here right now is the best one. So I will, based on the knowledge that I have right now, take a turn, and then all of a sudden I'll be corrected. But I have to be open. Otherwise, I'll keep going on that path, and it will become harder and harder to come back and then go back to the right path. Or it will take me longer to do it, which is also fine, because the more we take the wrong turns, more things we learn. But it will make us maybe be wary, maybe be tired. So it is a process. So uh, when I say the destination, I'm not saying that we know exactly everything that I'm going to go through in the middle, and we can course correct. When I'm young, I want to be a doctor, but while I'm learning, growing up, I discovered that, oh, I'm not going to be, never going to be a good doctor, because as soon as I see blood, I faint. So I don't want to be a doctor anymore. And now I found out that I can argue with people. So I want to be a counselor, or I want to be a psychologist, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to, I don't know, to be a manager of a store. I want to have a business. So it's something that even in day-to-day lives, it changes over time. So that's why you're saying, and I agree with you, it's the focus on the future is not the focus on the specifics of the future, but is to have a guiding light, a guiding purpose, so that I can always course correct. I can always correct my course pointing to that specific goal, which was pointed by Bob in the previous question, when he mentioned that love of God for us, right? So if we want to be that mirror that gives back the light that I'm getting from God, as long as I have that connection, even though I may be lost in some, paths of the way, I can always use um, what's the name? I forgot the name. Astrolabe, whatever it was, a compass. Sorry, a compass. I can all. Yeah, I remember two words in Portuguese, and I couldn't remember the one in English. So I can always use the compass. It's the magnetic north. It's that light that points me to a certain direction. So the destination is there. I'm never going to be able to get there, but I know that it's there, and I'm pointing towards that. I love the idea of the horizon, right? The horizon is there. It makes me want to go there, but I never get to the horizon. To me, that's a good metaphor for this destination. It's that horizon. Oh, I want to go there. So the closer I get to God, apparently the farthest he gets from me, to make me want to go more and want to go more and learn more and be more and have more love and more knowledge. So that's the destination that I was talking about. But yeah, we have to take steps by steps and fulfilling them day by day. As for example, the Alcoholics Anonymous said, right? It's I didn't drink today, and then tomorrow I'm going to say it again. I didn't drink today, and then tomorrow again. So one more day. It's not about the whole life. It's about the day. So it's about the action that I'm taking right now. So that's how we can be able to persevere more and more. It's just now. It's just today. Then I go to sleep, and then the next day it's just one more day. So with love would be the same thing. I love you today, and then tomorrow I'll say it. I love you today, and then the next day again and again. And with this repetition, persevering in this, I'll love every single day of my life.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So I'm just going to read two more comments before we go to our final announcements. So one comment came from Jenny. She said, a really inspiring evening. Really, really enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you liked it.
And one more from Marion. She said, Jesus spoke in parables so that things could be explained easily. And we remember those stories as examples.
Marion, you're so right, and I think that Laurie, fished it perfectly. I mean, it's impressive how stories reaches us deeply. It's that's how we communicated in the past. That's how we became humans. I'd say we became. It's through voice. After speaking and after listening so many stories for hundreds of thousands of years, that's after such a long time, that's when we started to write. So our ears and our voice, it's amazing. I mean, we ask who is there, the person says, ah, I know who it is. It is impressive how precise we can determine a person just by the voice, just by the breathing of the person. My mom, I couldn't I was not able to see my mom for 13 years. Then she came visit us. That was 5 years ago. Then she came a few times after that. First weekend that she was here, the first weekend that she was here, I live here with my brother lives here too, and I don't live with him, but he lives around. So we were at the Spiritist Center, and he came to me. He came to me and he said, I was there in the room and I heard my mom breathing, and I knew it was her. And I thought I heard the same thing, and I had the same thought. We were not seeing her, but we were outside and we heard whatever it was, a breathing or a sneeze or whatever, and said, oh, that's my mom. It had been 15 years, almost 13, 14 years that I had not seen her. And it just goes straight. Stories, and that's why Jesus is one of the greatest masters, if not the greatest master, because he knew how to touch. He knows how to get something inside of the mind. It is very, very powerful, and um, I like to tell small, short stories like this.
Thank you. So just a few more comments here, and then we go to our final comments. So Mark say, thank you for interesting and uplifting evening. Our friend Flavio Zanet, who was here with us previously, so he said, so great to see talented and kind friends on the screen live. That's very
Thank you,
kind of you,
Flavio.
Bob.
Flavio lives around here too. He goes to our center sometime to speak to us. He's a very good friend of ours. You know, we've been to his place. He's been to my place. He's a wonderful gentleman and he knows so much as well. And he's always smiling, always bring uplifting messages to everyone. Thank you, Flavio. And
Then comment from Susan Brown. Such an uplifting evening. Thank you so much. And then
thank you,
finally,
Susan.
from Sue, thank you, Mackenzie, for an interesting talk this evening and encouraged me to consider the difference between my own perseverance and stubbornness.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this quite a lot. I guess.
So I would like now to, as Lawrence, to put some leaflets up. I'd like to invite you guys for some events that is coming up soon. Events that is organized by the British Union of Spiritist Societies. And the first one is, which one do you have there, Lawrence?
I've either got Umberto or the Congress. Which one do you want?
Anyone, doesn't matter.
Some holiday snaps up then.
Well, let's go for the Congress first, the medicine one.
Okay, I'll go and change that back then.
Sorry. So this is our 8th British Congress on Medicine and Spirituality. The topic of this Congress is going to be Health for the Third Millennium. The date is going to be May 22nd from 10 to 5 and is a virtual event. And we will have Peter Fernick, Alexander Moreira, Dani Stevanin, Natalie Torber, Vanessa Anceloni, and Dr. Sonia Doi. Great speakers. The date is the 22nd of May. Save the date. That is an event organized by the British Spiritist Medical Association and the British Union of Spiritist Society. The next invitation I would like to make is event with Umberto. Umberto, he has been here with us before. He's going to be talk about a great philosopher, Spiritist philosopher Leon Denis, to celebrate his 175th anniversary. And his topic is going to be about Spiritism in the arts. That is Umberto Schubter on the 3rd of April, 4 o'clock. Again, an event organized by the British Union Spiritist Societies. And finally, a celebration for the Medium's book. That is on the 18th of April. We have Gioca Taledoni, is to celebrate 106 years of the Medium's book by Allan Kardec. Oh, Lawrence.
Yeah, you didn't send me that one.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay. Apologize for that. We can always. This one is on the 18th of April. We can mention that on our next talk. So I would like to say thank you, everyone who has been here with us, listening to us, and once again, Mackenzie, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And
Thank you for having me. I hope I can. Yeah, great words. Now make sure to pay attention to the road. Yeah, I'm going to try not to go to the river, Flavio. So I'm not, since I'm not on a boat. So
Well, as long as you're not on the Ever Given, that's absolutely fine.
yeah.
So I would then actually go to you, Lawrence, for our closing prayer, please.
Thank you, Fabricio. So again, dear friends, link in. God resides within each and every one of us. And we give thanks for this evening, for the knowledge and the upliftment, for the teachings, and for those challenges they place to our own understandings, to make us stop and think, and to enhance and shine and polish that diamond within, so that our journey across the face of this material world will be aided and abetted in the way that we interact with each other, and remembering that one divine truth, that we are all connected. A hurt to one is a hurt to all. So evenings such as this help us to tread gently across the face of this beautiful creation. Amen.
Amen. So I will see you all on our next Spiritist evening on the 23rd of April. No, sorry, on the 9th of April. Gosh, I'm wishing my life away there. So yes, our next event is on the 9th of April, and our speaker is going to be Daniel Santos, also from the United States.
Maryland. Love Daniel. He's awesome.
He's cool. Okay, have a good evening, everybody, and I see you in 2 weeks' time. Goodbye for now.
Bye.